Hey tribe, today we are going to transform your lower body mobility and strength and put it all together into some really cool squatting skills. All right, tribe, if you're tired of having a painful lower back, tight hips, painful knees, and tight ankles, and these things are restricting you from being able to get it down into a nice deep squat, we're gonna take a close look at each of these three key joints with 3 exercises you can use to get into this position. Our first exercise is gonna focus primarily on the knees, and it's more about strength and stability. It's called a step down. So I'm gonna find some elevated surface. I like this, this decline block I've got, but you can also use yoga blocks or even a stack of textbooks. We're gonna stand on top of the block with one leg. We're gonna try and keep the hips from dipping. So try and keep those hips nice and level. And then we're gonna bend that foot we're standing on, tapping our opposite heel to the floor slightly in front of us, okay? Maintain your balance, lower down, and repeat for a high number of repetitions. Now this might look easy, and we are using a short range of motion, but believe me, after some repetitions, you're really gonna start to feel the burn in that quad, and that's where that knee stability is gonna come from. To progress, you can start to reach that heel a little farther forward, or even farther forward, and you can see how this starts to become much more difficult very quickly. Now our next exercise is gonna focus more on the hips, and the primary intention here is mobility. So we're gonna find a low lunge position. I've got my yoga blocks with me here today. These aren't necessary, but they are a useful tool. So to find that low lunge position from the side here, you wanna see that the knee is stacked more or less right over top of the ankle. We're squeezing the butt on our back leg and gently pressing our hips down and forward towards the floor. You can use those blocks to take a little pressure off if this is uncomfortable. And of course, as you get more comfortable in position, you can lower the setting on those blocks and get deeper in. From there, we're gonna transition into a half split position. Now this is gonna stretch the hamstring, but this position is also gonna help us strengthen the hip flexor, this muscle on the front. And this is really one of the key muscles to strengthen and open up in order to get deep into that squat. So once we find this half split position, we're lengthening the spine. We're trying to keep this front leg mostly straight, breathing slowly, breathing deeply. And again, we can progress by using a lower setting on the blocks or even getting rid of them entirely. Once you've held that for time, you can slowly come out. And of course, make sure we're doing both sides on all these exercises. Our third and final exercise, and the last key joint we're gonna be looking at for that deep squat, is the ankles. In order to get into that squat, we really need flexible ankles. And so we're gonna practice some ankle rotations, drawing the biggest possible circle we can with the toes, and being mindful, trying to increase that range of motion with each rep. Of course, after a set number of repetitions, we can switch sides and go the opposite way. And of course, we wanna do both feet here as well. And that covers the 3 major joints to find that deep squat. Flexible ankles, stable knees, mobile hips is what's gonna get you there, all right? Now, let's take a look at phase 2, and we're gonna build some serious single leg strength with the pistol squat. If you're ready to take your lower body strength, mobility, and balance to the next level, then I highly suggest you try out the Pistols and Dragon Squat program on Evco. link in the description. Once you've mastered your deep squat, we can continue our lower body strength and mobility journey with pistol squats. And again, this is gonna require us to continue building that strength and mobility in those three key joints, the hips, the knees, and the ankles. And again, we're gonna start with something that really accounts for all three, but is definitely gonna bugs. Thailand, did you see that? Okay, I'm gonna keep going here. It's really focused on building up that strength and stability in the knee through a much larger range of motion, but all three of those components come into play here. We're really gonna be building strength in our quads as we work on box step-ups. So for this one, we're gonna need a much higher box, or a chair usually works well if you're training at home. We're gonna shift all of our weight into just the squatting leg. Notice I'm lifting my toe from the floor, and without using any momentum, I'm gonna straighten that leg and stand up nice and tall. Finding a full lockout before I again bend the knee and try and sink down, tapping my heel to the floor before going back up. Make sure that you're not using momentum. You're not pushing off the floor with the toes. All the work is being done by the squatting leg. Perform that one for a medium range of repetitions, and you're really gonna start to build that single leg strength. Of course, you can also increase the size of that box over time. Next, we're gonna be working on another exercise for the hip flexors, which is really important for that leg that stays hovering off the floor. For this one, we're gonna perform piked leg raises. I'm gonna sit on my butt with both legs straight in front of me, and I'm gonna place my fingertips on the floor somewhere in front of me as well. Around the knees is usually a good place to start, and what we're gonna do is lift one leg off the ground, keeping fully locked out at the knee, and then lower it back down, and continue for repetitions. Working with just that end range of motion in the hip flexor to strengthen up that area for those pistol squats. Over time, we can reach farther and farther forward and continue to perform those leg raises. And that's gonna help us keep that floating leg off the floor. Our third and final exercise is a roll to pistol squat. This is a very fun and dynamic movement that we can use to use some momentum and work ourselves into the bottom range of that pistol squat. Notice with each repetition, I'm driving my knee forward over my toes. And so this is also gonna help mobilize that third key area, the ankles. I'm gonna continue performing reps, alternating sides, and building up more volume, more time in that bottom position, so that eventually I can hold it and maybe do that full pistol squat. Whew, getting sweaty. Perform all three of these movements to get that strength and mobility necessary for this next awesome single leg strength skill. Let's move on to the third phase, the dragon squat. All right. Okay guys, here's plug number 2. Because if you want to do crazy cool squats and stuff, well, I can give you lots of YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, you kind of got to do like reps and sets. And I need to give you more information than I can put in like a 10-12 minute video. So check out the Evolution Collective to get the Pistols and Dragons program, so you get everything you need to do crazy stuff like this. Now, once you've mastered that pistol squat, we can take it to a whole nother level with the dragon squat. Now, this one is gonna require ridiculous lower body strength, mobility, as well as balance. And again, to get there, we're gonna take a look at those 3 different joints and use 3 different exercises. We can progress box step-ups by doing something I call a twisted box step-up. I actually like to start this one at the top instead of the bottom, but it's up to you. Personal preference, which one works better. For the twisted box step-up, we're gonna make sure when we get to that top position, we're actually twisting the legs. And notice my outside foot is the one that I'm squatting on here. I'm gonna lower down, just like I did with that previous variation, tap my heel to the floor, and then slowly stand back up and uncoil those legs. Again, on the way down, I twist the legs, I lower down, I tap my heel to the floor, and then stand back up. We can progress this by using a taller box, broader range of motion. And this one we're gonna be doing just for a few repetitions to really work on that strength, okay? Next up, we're gonna be working on what's called a twisted adduction. This is another one seated on the floor. This is gonna hit the hip flexor, but also the inner thigh, or the adductor. From a seated position with both legs straight, I'm gonna lift one leg and I'm gonna twist it over top, bringing that foot planted firmly on the floor on the outside of the other knee. Now I'm gonna reach one hand back and slightly to the side, find a nice stable position, and my focus is this leg. I'm going to squeeze and lift that leg as high as I can with my inner thigh and then lower it back down. Now this one is targeting that inner thigh and it's targeting the hovering leg, which, believe it or not, is actually the toughest part for a lot of people. But once you've gotten that area a little bit stronger, it will, of course, get easier. And the final exercise we're gonna be using primarily for the ankles is a standing exercise that I call the lateral walk and roll. We're gonna use this to layer some strength on top of all that range of motion that we've been building in the ankles. I'm gonna step one foot across and in front of my other, putting my outside edge of my foot on the floor. I'm gonna shift my weight into that foot as I take another step, placing the inside edge of my foot on the floor, and then I'm going to roll to the opposite side. Shift my weight mindfully, take that step, placing the outside edge down, take another step, and roll. Of course, I can also go the opposite direction, and as always, we want to go both ways. If you want a little bit more on that exercise and some other walking exercises, you can check out the mindful walking video that we did a couple months back. But there you have it, guys. There's 3 exercises you can use to get from that pistol to that dragon squat. So if you guys want to evolve together and you want full workouts, a full program that's gonna take you from 0 to 100 from that deep squat to that dragon squat, please check out the Pistols and Dragons program on the Evolution Collective. But you'll also see me back here in the very near future with another video. Thank you so much for being with me today, and as always, wishing you very well.